Well, hey everyone. This is Christopher with Elm Street Cultural Arts Village, and today I am doing another artist interview with Madison Beaulieu. We are so excited to have her. She's been all around the community doing all sorts of stuff, which I'm sure we'll get into. But Madison, thanks so much for joining us. Really quickly before we go into anyone else, so for anyone watching at home when we're premiering this out or whenever, could you just kind of in your own words describe your craft and what you do as far as your art?
I'm an artist. I do primarily right now like digital art, so drawing. I started doing coloring sheets, which is really fun. My background is more in like printmaking, and in college I did a lot of sculpture. But and painting, I don't know, I kind of float between everything and just make it up as I go. But I'm also a graphic designer, and I'm also started doing events through the Maker's Mash, which has been really fun. So all sorts of stuff.
Very cool. Let me ask this: when you just mentioned an array um, of mediums. Let me first ask, where do you focus most of your time nowadays?
Right now, most of my time is spent drawing. So I maybe in the past 6 months have done a lot of graphic design work, and lately have been shifting more towards illustration and like drawing for brands, which is a little bit different in that it's more of a collaboration and less of creating like specific marketing pieces. So it's kind of fun because you can let your own style shine a little bit more when you focus on illustration and art that way. So lately,
Okay.
it's been a lot of drawing. Really, whatever I can reach that is quick, because I'm a little short on time. So anything available, I'll just try.
That's fair. That's fair. When do you find that as you're working on pieces that the other art mediums that you have kind of experience with are starting to influence kind of what you're working on, or do you find it pretty independent?
Oh no, I think they definitely all blend in. So in college, I did a lot of printmaking, which is so line focused, especially like woodcuts and that kind of thing. So you're really like creating an image by taking things away. And so when I'm like drawing on my iPad, it's sort of the same way. Like you can kind of apply the same principles. Um, so I think that kind of shines through, hopefully.
Yeah, I would say in the stuff that I've seen you or I in your works that I've seen, I should say, I definitely could see that practice of rather than adding to but taking away from in doing that. Well, very cool. In all of those moments, do you have a particular moment or piece that you look back and think fondly of, maybe as a favorite or maybe as a favorite experience or anything? I know the dreaded question. I just jumped right into it, but
It's so hard, but it's so funny because I was thinking about this the other day. But so my capstone project in college was like this huge sculptural piece that had like, I should probably send a picture because it's insane. But it was like this giant like bird cage that I welded, which was super fun. And I got to like, yeah, power tools are awesome and terrifying, but I only got stitches once. But so it was crazy. So it's a giant welded bird cage, and then I had printed like hundreds and hundreds of birds that were like hanging from the ceiling, and I got to like install it in our library at school. And it was just like this huge piece. When you're coming up the stairs, you just like see all of it. And I just like loved creating this huge like moment out of all these little pieces. So that was really cool. So I was like thinking about that the other day and like wondering if I could kind of do something like that again. So that piece really stands out. And then there's always these like funny things that I just make in like 10 or 15 minutes that seem to catch on. Like I think I have this one painting that just says like messy is still cool. And for some reason that has like, people love that one, and I'm like, oh, cool. Like you just like never know what is gonna impact somebody. So
yeah, definitely. When you so now I'm going to follow up with another dreaded question. You had mentioned, okay, I don't have a lot of time right now, so I imagine a lot of the work that you're working on is commission based. Collaborating with companies or collaborating on specific designs. I assume for them or for a certain project or anything like that. If you did have time on your hands, and it sounds like the birdcage was obviously a different concept, not necessarily graphic, but more sculptural.
Yeah.
If you did have time on your hands, obviously it doesn't have to be sculptural, but has there been something floating around in your head saying, man, I really would like to put this out there as a maybe bigger, not necessarily commissioned, but just fun piece, if you will, a soul feeding piece?
So, that's so hard. Well, now that I have kids, like the like more playful things are kind of calling to me. So like I would love to do like a flashcard set or like a book. Everyone wants to do a kid's book. Or like a set of blocks. Something that could like be played with every day but still be really cool and fun. So I've kind of been thinking about those sorts of things. But then I also like would just love to do like shop window display, like
Yeah.
it could be fun. So we'll see.
Yeah, definitely. Well, so your medium, let's say is a graphic design or working with companies. Can you walk me through some of your process as you're creating? I know you already mentioned kind of taking away, but what things do you bring to the table as far as the steps you take or the process that you have in creating those pieces?
Yeah, so working with brands, the first step is always a meeting and just kind of seeing where they're at and what their goals are for the project, and like what's the best use, like what value can we bring to it. So that's always the first step. And then after that, it's just like tons of research, Pinterest board, just kind of like float a billion ideas out there, which is totally my problem. I have way more ideas than ability. So then it's like, okay, well, what's like the one or two things that we need to follow a little bit further down the path? And then from there, it's just creating. And then always with my clients, like I never want to create in a vacuum. Like I want them to be part of the process too. Because I mean, they are experts in who they're trying to reach. I'm like an expert in creating the art and the design. So if we like work together, it's just that much more powerful. Plus, it's like way more fun than just hanging out in a room by yourself. But yeah, and then it just kind of refines from there. And then we deliver the project and write a thank you note, that kind of stuff.
I'm trying to remember based off of some of the other interviews that I've done, but I think you're the first one that is primarily commission based.
Oh, okay.
So in saying that, I would be interested to know, like, this is kind of a hot seat question, but
I'm ready.
are you, I absolutely understand the desire to collaborate and work with. Do you find that process can sometimes be a little overwhelming and or frustrating that as far as the design, as far as the piece? Now, obviously you're trying to perform a service and a product for a company or a person and, certain initiatives or agendas, but do you find that you had originally tried to create a design or piece and ultimately it didn't get anywhere close? Yeah.
Yes. Oh man, there's always that like, this is amazing, and then you just like, there's that awkward silence of like, and you're like, okay, we can work on this. I think it can be really frustrating, but mostly if I find myself not making time to make something that's just for me. So if I can make sure like I'm carving out the time to like write my journal, draw little doodles, that kind of stuff, like it doesn't feel, then it's like I have my own personal like oasis to draw from. But yeah, it can definitely be, I think like the hardest thing for me when it comes to working with clients is like I am not good at answering emails like immediately. Like I used to be really good at it, and I think that set like a precedent, and now I'm like, and then So I struggle with that a little bit more now. Um, but yeah, it's definitely fun. And there's always going to be those projects that kind of take a windy road, but eventually we get to the destination.
Do you find that these things, well, I should say, not even these pieces, but maybe more so your career, was this a direction where you had like an aha moment and said, this is what I want to do? Or did this kind of land in your lap as a, um, that maybe as a happy accident? Or does that make sense?
Yeah, I think it was kind of definitely maybe not like one aha moment, but little like nudges in the right direction. So in college, I started out majoring in writing. And then I was like, I don't know if I can be at a desk all day. Like, I think I need to be like running around. Um, so then I switched to marketing and art. And then I was working at an agency. I got laid off, and that kind of just like inspired me. And then like it's just been these little like, oh, maybe I could do this. I started an Etsy shop, um, and I literally sold just like circles painted on paper, which I was like, I just need to make something, and this is easy, and it's very meditative. And that kind of nudged me into like designing products. And then that kind of nudged me into learning a little bit more about photography, which kind of pushed me more into graphic design. And it's kind of, I don't know, yeah, bunch of little, oh, moments.
Right. No, that's fair. And I guess that kind of goes about your journey. Was there an unexpected, I suppose, being laid off, but maybe this wasn't it. As far as your journey goes to kind of get here, was there an unexpected moment? Um,
um, I think being laid off was probably the biggest one.
mhm.
Just because it was like, I totally thought I was like on the track. Like I was like, yep, I'm going like straight. I can see the end of the road. Like I know where I'm going and what I'm doing. And then I was like, you know how like a bike, you ever watch somebody crash on a bike and there's that moment of like, maybe they won't fall and then they just tumble. It was like that, like, oh, but I don't know, you learn to find your balance for sure. And I think that like getting laid off was so good for me because it forced me to apply everything I've learned and like starting my business. So it was a really good moment. I definitely cried for like a day, but then I was like, okay, what are you gonna do?
Yeah, definitely. Good for you. Good for you to be in that moment and then use it as opportunity. I want to take a moment and talk about, because you've kind of created this, we'll call it a movement, if you will, of
Oh,
Maker's Mash and of events and giving other artists opportunities. So I want to kind of like hand you a soapbox and say, talk about that, and like what inspired that, what inspired you to lead that, and how did it go from there?
oh man, yes, I love the Maker's Mash. Okay, so I can't even remember, but I was trying to sell things online, which is very slow going when you're just starting out, at least for me. Like, you get your Etsy shop and you're so pumped, you have all your listings lined up, and you're like, yeah, and then you're like, oh man, takes a while. And then at the same time, we have such an amazing community here in Woodstock, and I was like, if I could just like hang out in person, people could see my stuff, and maybe that would like change the game a little bit. And then I was like, but I'm not the only one. I have friends here, clients I met through the design. Like, I just knew that there was kind of this missing piece. Like, everyone had these great products, they had their website, but there's still just like that community interaction wasn't there. And then how awesome Reformation is and how like great they are. So I asked them if they would consider hosting us, and we just kind of set it up from there. Yeah, it's been going for like a year and a half. I'm very bad at dates, but it's been great, and I've learned a lot. Like the first one, I remember I messed up someone's booth space, and I was just like, So each time, you learn a little bit more. And it's been great. I've met so many awesome people through it, and I've really enjoyed coordinating those.
Yeah, very cool. I know that in going to the Makers Match, it's a lot of fun. It's good to see people's work, especially on a somewhat irregular basis, but it's a little bit consistent. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So,
I think it's cool because it gives shoppers an opportunity to see like the person behind the product and like hear the story straight from the maker. And I think that's really special.
yeah, no, that's a good point, especially because a lot of times in other artistic mediums, it's their pieces only, unless you're at a specific event where it's like the opening and the wine and dine and that sort of thing. It's really just their product and not necessarily a lot of context, or if it is context, it's limited. But seeing the face behind the artist, hearing the story behind the art, all of those opportunities are definitely invaluable to help the audience in understanding the direction. So,
yeah.
Well, let's see. Has there, I guess, I guess what we should do is if somebody wants to work with you, whether it be a company or just somebody wanting to do designs, how would they get in touch with you? And also, you still have an Etsy shop, is that correct?
Yes, I do. Yes, so my Etsy, it's all, what's the easiest way to find me? I guess my email address, but also on Instagram and Facebook. Just, I guess, search for me. My website is madisonbeaulieu.com. Our graphic design website is madanddusty.com. Etsy, if you search Mads Beaulieu, I think it'll come up. But yeah, did I answer all that?
Yeah, so we'll also put some links here in the comments cool. As well, so that way people can follow along. So if you are watching, they're in the comments. Follow along and definitely check out Madison and perhaps reach out and work with her.
Be an honor.
And then aside from that, Madison, is there anything else that kind of open-ended that you want to say before we are we wrap it up here?
Man, I know we're in some weird times. Just like break out the crayons and color. Like do something creative. It'll help. It always helps. So definitely make sure take time for that every day if you can.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, I do. I agree with that sentiment. If when you can, or even if you don't feel like you can, be creative. It's good for you. Good for the soul.
So good. It's a vitamin.
Thanks so much for joining us. I really appreciate you taking the time to do this interview. If you are watching, please check out Madison's work, whether it's a website or Etsy shop or social media. Give her a like and follow and whatnot. We definitely would. I know she would appreciate it, but we would too, because our artists matter. Our local artists matter. So Madison, thanks so much, and we will talk to you soon.
Cool. Thank you.
All right.
Bye.